something reared itself at the weekend in the West Brom game, and it's something that's really been irritating me and been on my mind for quite a long time, and it is actually the player's desire and the player's character. Because it was found wanting. Too few of those players on that pitch against West Brom wanted to win the game. Now, we could spend time mulling over whether it was important to Declan Rice, who played well, because Declan Rice grew up in a culture where he probably sat down with his dad and watched the FA Cup. He gets it. Mark Noble comes on at half-time and tries to win the game. Why? Because Mark Noble gets it. He understands about the FA Cup. There is the theory that a lot of the players there who didn't grow up with the FA Cup don't take it very seriously, because in a lot of the clubs, the continental clubs, the Cup is not taken seriously. I would suggest that there's probably something within that, bearing in mind we capitulated against Oxford reserves, and then we've done the same thing again against West Brom. Obviously, those two games were in two different managers, so there's some consistency there, and it certainly ain't the managers in that one. So I think a lot of it has come down to character. I've long thought that when we scout players, we often don't look at enough of them. I don't mean enough players, I mean we don't look at the individual player in depth enough. I like to think if we're looking at a right back, you would know if the right back has the technical ability to play there. Can he pass? Can he tackle? Can he control the football? If you're looking for a fast one there, is he going to be able to run? You're going to know that stuff. That stuff I take it as a given, as a must. If he can pass with 2 feet, that's a bonus. But I do expect a professional footballer to have some footballing skill. For too long, West Ham have maybe ignored some of the other things, particularly how injury-prone a player is. How fit is a player? Yes, they have their medical. Yes, they might pass that. But it is a medical, by and large. But actually, how fit? How far do you run? Is all that analysed, their mileage in a game? Not just the big ones, not just the injuries either, not just the cruciate knee ligament. If someone's had trouble with that, don't buy them. That would be my suggestion. But actually the smaller knocks, the calf strains and things like that. What you want to do is scout a player and make sure that he has recovered from those injuries quicker than everybody else. By that way, you know you're getting a good player. But I think there's something else, and I think it's character and I think it's personality. And I don't think we look at it at all. And I wouldn't just level this at West Ham, although we do seem to be particularly bad at it. Because football is a unique recruiting ground in terms of the wider world. If you work in an office or you work anywhere else, at some point you would have gone for a job interview. And during that job interview, let's say you're in the frame for a job with 3 equally qualified people. Why should you get the job over the other 2? Well, it's not up to you, of course. It's up to the interviewer. So it's up to you to create an impression with the interviewer. Who's the interviewer going to give the job to? Well, the interviewer, if it is a job in an office, if everybody is as qualified as one another, he's probably going to look at your personality. He's probably going to look at your character. Have you got on with that interviewer during the interview? I think that will play a big part, but by and large, they will probably look and think, whoever I give this job to has got to go and work in the office. They've got to work as part of a team. These are all cliches, of course. Must work as part of a team. You see it all the time. But there is something in it. It is true. If in an interview you come across as disruptive, a bit egotistical, difficult to manage, you're not going to get the job. Why would you take that person and put them in a team of 20 other people in an office? It's going to cause problems in the long run. Basically, the job will be given to the person who the interviewer thinks has got the best personality. Who he thinks he might get an idea that somebody's equally qualified to somebody else, but someone's just a little bit more committed to that job. And I do think football is a strange one, because I don't think we do that. We almost decide we want a player before we've met him. Does the owner go and meet a player? Does the manager even go and meet a player? I've been listening to some really interesting comments from David Moyes in the last 2 or 3 days. He doesn't seem to have a clue what's going on in terms of what transfers he wants to bring in. But what I would like to do, and what I'd like to see happen, is some proper investigation into whether the player's character fits in with the ethos of the club. Because quite frankly, what I saw against West Brom was a load of players who don't give a damn. Now, I've no doubt that Sebastian Haller is a wonderfully talented player. I mean, really, I think he can control the ball really well. I think he can head the ball well. I think there's an awful lot. He finishes well. He's got a good instinct to be in the right place at the right time. I'm picking him out, and you could pick a number of others. But I will go with him. Why will we go with him and not Carlos Sanchez? Well, Carlos Sanchez I'm not even sure Carlos Sanchez should be a professional footballer, quite frankly. He's awful. He was awful. And so I don't want to, but he's not the £45 million striker. There's clearly something in Sebastian Haller's character that when his head dips, when he's not interested, when he doesn't feel that he's in with a chance of getting service or winning the game, he doesn't go that extra mile. He almost loses interest. He starts to play within himself. There was a point in the West Brom game where Declan Rice, and don't get me wrong, Declan Rice was not a brilliant player in that game. But you could see that there were times when he thought, I'm going to have to try and win this game on my own. So he tried to drive forward. Declan Rice is never going to be a guy that scores 10 goals throughout the season or anything like that. Declan Rice is never going to be a guy that runs down the wing and put crosses in and stuff like that to any successful effect over a long-term period. But he tried to do it. He tried to put crosses in. He tried to have shots. He tried to win us the game. Why? Because the force of his personality was greater than his ability in those positions. I mean, he would go forward and almost pop up as an attacking midfielder and try and have a shot. He's not an attacking midfielder. He's not talented in that way. But he knew it wasn't going to happen from anyone else. So he thought, I'll have a go. It was basically grabbing the ball by the horns, the game by the scruff of the neck, whichever cliche you want to use. That was what he was doing. But that's down to character. That's down to upbringing. That's down to an awful lot of things. But that's up there. That's not ability. And I'll tell you a story now. And this happened on Saturday, before the game. So before the game, I'd been to see John on who was collecting for the food banks. Now, the food banks are just by the aquatic centre, and they will be there. But if you're going past, by the way, drop 50 pence in the bucket. It would be very much appreciated. Believe it or not, Newham is one of the poorest boroughs in Europe, and this is about getting food in people's mouths. But anyway, so I popped along and seen John. As I'm walking past John, and I go down, I'm going past the bridge. The aquatic centre's on the left, the boats are on the right. As I'm doing that, I had a bit of a lot of people come down the boats, and I'll often meet people once, not see them again, have no reflection on the boats, but you meet someone, you say hello, and then you might not see him again. I saw this guy. I thought I recognise him. Now, bearing in mind we were near the boats, well, perhaps I just know him off the boats. I walked up to him to shake his hand, and at the point where I was shaking his hand, I was smiling. I said, all right, mate. Went to shake his hand. I said, you're Jordan Hugill. He said, yes, mate. How you doing? Shook me hand. I've got to be honest with you, I was a little bit flustered on this because I wasn't expecting to see Jordan Hugill. And then I twigged it because he had this big sort of a Parker type jacket on and all the rest of it. And because I walked down through there, I twigged it. He's walked up from the station. And this is why I didn't think, why would a footballer be walking down there and taking that route? Jordan Hugill is still on the West Ham books, by the way. There is a gated car park in that stadium with ample parking space. Jordan Hugill can very easily put his name down and use the player parking in there and drive him. But he didn't. He got to train him. And then he walked on, whatever it is, where I don't even know what they call it, but past the aquatic centre, over the bridge where the boats are, right in front of the big screen. And he's walking down there amongst fans. And I said to him, what are you doing here? He said, I'm just coming to watch the game. Now, he's on loan at QPR. He doesn't have to be there. And I said, do you do this often? He said, I get as much as I can, as much as I can. I didn't want to make any smart jokes or anything like that. I shook his hand and he went on his way. Very polite, very nice, but that's not my real point here. With Jordan Hugill, you have got somebody who has not given up on playing for West Ham. You've got somebody who is, and I'm taking a guess here, I guess Jordan Hugill earns between 25 and 30 grand a week. What's he been with us? 2.5 seasons now, something like that? Two seasons, won't it? Jordan Hugill is going to be a very well-off young man. He plays for Queen's Park Rangers at the moment. And clearly Queen's Park Rangers didn't have a game on the same day. Otherwise he wouldn't have been there. But why was he there? He didn't have to be. As I say, he's probably got ample spare money. Probably as a professional footballer, train every day. Probably don't have a ton of spare time in many respects. But what did he choose to do on his day off? He chose to come to West Ham to watch the game. Not for any publicity. He had his hood up. He didn't really want to be noticed. I wouldn't have noticed him under normal circumstances. He didn't park in the players' car park and try and be a prima donna. I was going to say a Maradona. He's definitely not a Maradona, by the way. He got the train. He walked down the footpath that the fans used. Saw some idiot in me bothering him. I didn't ask for a selfie, but I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. Was very polite, and he went on to watch his team. I say his team. It's not even his team. He's a Preston fan. But that reminded me of something. After he signed for us from Preston, I remember he went up and watched a Preston game. This is clearly a very, very nice lad. And my point being, he clearly has a ton of good attitude. He clearly has a ton of personality. He wanted to be out there yesterday. He couldn't be out there. Why? Because he's been deemed not good enough. Good enough for QPR, not good enough for West Ham. But still, if he can't be out there, the second best thing for Jordan Hugill is to go and watch the game. Go and support the team. I doubt he even went in the players' entrance or anything like that. He couldn't have done because he wasn't parked in the thing. Maybe the players didn't even know he was there. He went and supported quietly. He went because he felt he should. He probably went because he felt it was the right thing to do. He possibly went because he was interested. But in that trip from the station down the, I keep wanting to call it Wembley. Has it got a name? Anyway, on that walk from the station through Westfield, down through the all the way to the stadium, and by going in there, Jordan Hugill has shown more commitment to the West Ham cause than the vast majority of players on that pitch. And I know that Sebastian Haller is more talented than Jordan Hugill. Absolutely. But what I couldn't help but think as I was watching that game, and I was watching Sebastian Haller falling over and throwing himself around and complaining to the referee, I couldn't help but feel, at what point does your natural talent become so insignificant in this game, such an irrelevance in this game, that actually somebody with a quarter of your talent in Jordan Hugill would probably perform better? Why? Because Jordan Hugill wants to play for West Ham more, and because Jordan Hugill's attitude would have been right. He would have given more. We would have got more from him out of that game. Now, if you will, imagine a team with 11 Jordan Hugills. You don't have to imagine them. They're called Sheffield United, by the way. It's called Chris Wilder. And it leads me to wonder, in terms of our recruitment, in terms of everything, over successive periods of time, why the hell we have managed to get a bunch of millionaires playing for West Ham who clearly don't give a damn.